Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you.
Before I forget, I've had a couple of odd moments on tours the last couple of weeks. The first one was, I think I told y'all about that moment that the guest offered me the cherry that turned out to be incredibly boozy. Well, a couple of days ago, I was standing across the street from the bar because I was on the bar break, and it's the exact same bar, and I was just watching people hanging out, having fun, chatting while I waited for my guest to get back, and I suddenly hear, "You aren't supposed to spit it out." And I was like, what? And I look over there, and there's a woman coughing into the street, looking like she is gagging and, like, losing track of everything. And the guy says, yeah, I wouldn't have given you a cherry if I knew you were just gonna spit it out. And she said something to the extent of, you should have warned me it had alcohol in it. Which, I feel ya. I get it. I was there for it. I fully support this response. The second one. So a couple of nights ago on a tour, I had a group that were, I will admit, a little bit getting on the verge of too drunk to be there, but they were trying their best to keep quiet. They weren't interrupting. They were being polite. It was just one of those when we were walking one-on-one and they're asking questions. I'm like, yeah, they are at least 2.5 sheets to the wind. But at one point, this guy was asking me, like, so where did you get your voice from? And I'm like, what? And he's like, the voice you do on tours. I'm like, dude, it's my voice, but louder. It's literally just me enunciating and speaking loudly and clearly. He's like, but you sound so special, or something like that. I'm like, dude, I have a theater degree if that's what you're asking about. And he's like, oh my God, did you want to be a movie star? And I'm like, no. And before I can say anything else, he's like, or a Cirque du Soleil person? And I just sort of blinked at him. And I'm like, baby, please tell me that it's just the alcohol and you do not actually think that circus arts and acting are the same thing. It's not like those people are pretending to twist themselves into knots and throw themselves off of, 10-foot platforms. They're actually doing those things. But then we have a lovely conversation about how, no, I had no desire to be a movie star or even a Broadway star, because that's the equivalent of, like, the Olympics for an actor. I was hoping at best to be a working actor, but truthfully, I never even wanted to be an actor so much as I was planning on being a backstage person, building sets and things like that. And I just failed to even get my foot in the door there. But that one was fun. But the most recent one was today. And keep in mind, today was boiling hot. Like, I puked on the way home. I do not feel well right now. But it was during the first tour. And I was hanging out outside. No, it had to have been during the second tour, because I only took them to a bar on the second tour. The first tour we went to a coffee house because it was a family friendly tour and therefore there were children, and I try my best not to take small kids to a bar. It just doesn't work. But I was standing there just watching people go by, and there was a woman who I'm guessing was in maybe her 20s at most, walking by with somebody who looked to be in about his 40s, and a woman who looked to be in about her 40s too. So I'm guessing adults with their adult children. And suddenly the guy reaches over and sort of honks this 20-year-old woman's boobs while sort of jiggling them and saying, flash him for the beads! And I'm a little bit horrified just by that. But what really made me go, oh God, no, was she then turned to him and said, Dad, don't do that. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm just gonna stand over here and try not to think for a while. So, now y'all get to have the same experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my book, Drunks of the French Quarter Theater, available on Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, pretty much wherever.